So the roller coaster ride finally comes to an end, and LeBron James is still the most scrutinized and criticized and maybe now even glorified player of probably any sport in the world. And quite a bit has happened since that game ended. I have not gotten sleep yet because for some reason when I eat meals that are too large, I just burp gas for a long time and it's impossible to sleep. So if there's any random pauses that sound awkward, it's because I had to take the time to try to burp. And I think me speaking now has just opened up some valves in my body and I burped quite a bit of gas out right there. But let's get to the point of the program. I have waited to make this video for a long time. I, like Shane Battier, believe in the basketball gods or karma or fate or destiny, whatever you want to call it. And the last time I intervened with the Miami Heat, I made LeBron James a curated golfer on Tiger Woods 2014. And the next day, they lost to the Chicago Bulls, ending the 27-game winning streak. So I decided to not touch that. Trust me, I've wanted to make a lot of videos specifically talking about them, but I just wanted it to be over. I also held off buying basketball shoes of him, and I made that purchase within, I think, 15 minutes of the game ending. And it's just, it's such a relief that not only that they won, but the NBA season is over. I mean, if you put some perspective on this, remember when people were saying they're going to go faux? I mean, started out interesting. I couldn't even tell you more than 3 starters in the Milwaukee Bucks. Like, who were they again? An 8 seed with a below 500 record. And then when they came out quote-unquote rusty against the Bulls and lost that game 1, and then they beat them by like 47 in game 2. They're up by 46 at one point. And all the ejections and technicals and fouls. And it feels like light years ago when Kobe tore his Achilles. I mean, these playoffs, I should say, have taken a long time to conclude. But goddamn, was it entertaining? Was it narrow-biting? Was it everything that we wanted, pretty much? I mean, this series, I was listening to Mike and Mike. They were saying, oh, the first 5 games weren't that good. That game 1 ended with one of the craziest game winners you ever see. You know, whether or not Tony Parker walked 3 times doesn't really matter. He still made that shot. And then game 2 with LeBron's dunk and that insane 33-5 run. And then game 3 was like basically the exact same thing, but for the Spurs. The Heat got stuck in the 60s and they just ran away with it. And in game 2, Danny Green went 5 for 5 from 3 and they got blown out. In game 3, Mike Miller went 5 for 5 from 3 and they got blown out. I mean, it was like the exact same thing. And of course, game 4 was the best Big 3 performance we've seen in their era so far, with them combining for 85 and Dwayne Wade just putting the team on his back. And LeBron got, I think, 8 points in garbage time when they were up by, I think, like 16, and Pop had already emptied the bench. And of course, there was the pivotal game 5. Ginobili inserted into the starting lineup to match Mike Miller, and he just scorched them, and I fucking predicted that. And the Heat were teasing us, making runs at the end, but, you know, the refereeing, I don't care who you are. If you say the refereeing favored the Heat, then you're not watching the same game as me. The amount of no calls that LeBron and Dwayne and Chris Bosh got in the paint were incredible. And Tim Duncan, I mean, I know Bosh wasn't playing perfect defense, but goddamn, he did not foul him every single time Tim Duncan got a whistle. And Tony Parker, just like Wade, falls every time he drives, so they're gonna call foul for him. And they called that moving screen on LeBron. When Ray Allen hit that three, they would cut the lead to like 8. But all of that shit, nobody will remember. They will only remember games 6 and 7. When the most miraculous comeback I've ever seen happened. Maybe not the most miraculous, but the most needed. Because I remember when the Heat, when Dwayne Wade and LeBron both hit 2 or maybe 3 threes against the Bulls back in 2010 in Chicago. They just started lighting it up. That was insane. And the Mavericks came back against the Heat, and I think game 4 in 2010, but I don't know, I tried to forget that shit. I mean, this comeback that they had in game 6. And, I agree with Golick. The whole, Tim Duncan thing and him being on the bench, that ball could have bounced in any direction. And Tim Duncan's influence, I understand, is great, but you really can't blame Pop for him not being in there. Like, I really don't see him getting those rebounds, but there's just so many different circumstances and situations that could happen with him being on the floor. I don't know how much you guys follow Lebatard, but I think he's a genius. And you just got to celebrate what happened. And the fact that Bosch earned that rebound and got the ball to Ray Allen, sleeking over there in the corner, stepping his way back, and he made that 3. That was insane. It was honestly insane. And it was the no headband game. God damn, Kawhi Leonard should just go play football. Go try to be like a wide receiver or running back, because he sure as hell knows how to stiff arm. Ah, man, and then of course game 7. Just a barrage of 3-pointers from LeBron. The Spurs didn't respect him the entire series. They're not guarding him and Dwayne Wade. Outside of 16 feet, they don't guard him. And they had to prove to themselves, to everyone watching, and to the Spurs, that they could make jump shots when it mattered. And they both did. And it was incredible. And Chris Bosh put on the best Goose performance of all time. He gave it his all with the 7 rebounds and 0 for 5. And, Ray Allen and Miller got goosed. Chalmers was 1 for 7 from downtown. But Shane Battier, who, after making that garbage-ass 3 in Game 6, that Gary Neal replicated, both hitting backboard 3s. And Chalmers' only 3 was the backboard one and the third. But yeah, Shane Battier ended up coming up huge. Going 6 for 8. All of his mattered too. Of course every shot matters, but the 3 he hit in the 4th quarter were fucking gargantuan. And 4 Heat players combined for 92 points. That's insane. 4 players. But yeah, to get into the meat of what I wanted to talk about, made the video defending The Man of Steel, saying it was probably a top 3 favorite movie of mine of all time. And the similarities between The Man of Steel and LeBron and just the Heat, the atmosphere is incredible. It's like some people are just witnessing and accepting the greatness, and they want more of it. And then you just have flat out fucking haters. And, one of the key differences is the critics hate the movie and the fans love it. And with LeBron, the critics now love him. I mean, Magic Johnson was practically rim jobbing him on fucking ABC. Or was that ESPN? Doesn't matter. And, the fans, the haters, you just search Twitter. You'll find them. They are still out and about. And they come up with the fucking most dumbest fucking excuses you ever see. And, it's just people don't want to celebrate greatness. They want to be ignorant to it. They want to ignore it. They want to find a way to reject it, and it's incredible. It's incredible to me. If you watch the Angry Joe review of Man of Steel, I'll link it in the description. If you listen to what he says in like the first 6 minutes and just replace what he's describing with what he's describing, if you replace Man of Steel with LeBron, it honestly sounds like he's reviewing the NBA Finals and talking about all of the haters, like, and how he sees the greatness and he doesn't understand how other people don't. It's crazy how similar it is. You know, I'm not going to quote anything. I'm not going to play the video. You just got to go watch the first couple minutes, and then, you know, you should just finish it because it's a good video. Angry Joe is a solid YouTuber. I've been watching him for a few weeks now, and I've watched a bunch of his videos in his archives. About a month ago, I think, when BioShock came out. Okay, that was a long time ago, so that's months ago. But anyways, just the narrative of this whole situation is incredible. And I was thinking about how narrative in, you know, action adventure movies featuring protagonists, how similar it is to sports, and specifically LeBron. You know, you have the origin story and how they came up, and then you have the conflicts that are introduced, of course, losing and not seeing immediate success, and then you have, you know, the climax, the final fight that the hero wins 99% of the time. Where in sports, you don't know if they're going to win, which makes it so exciting, you know. And then, of course, you have the falling action, which could be, you know, like Jordan right now. It could be him being compared to LeBron. Well, actually, probably in the mid-2000s. And the Wizards, to be honest. But a couple things to point out is where LeBron really went wrong was having a few suspect games as a member of the Cavaliers, due to him playing against really good defenses and him having zero supporting cast. And he can't do it all. He can't score every single point. He can score a lot of them. You know, he proved that against the Pistons, but he's not going to score all of them, okay? And people hate him for the way he left Cleveland. You know, Lebron always points out that he raised, I'm not sure how much it was, I don't know if it's $100,000, but he raised a ton of money for the decision airing on ESPN for charities for children. So that was actually a positive. But people hate the way that went over. And I guess there's something wrong for saying I'm taking my talents to South Beach. I get that's like he who must not be named shit right there. You cannot say Lord Voldemort. You know, so, and then he came out with the What Should I Do commercial. That just stirred the pot, and he was the villain. Nobody liked him, and when it came down to it, he choked against the Mavs. They were up 2-1. You know, there's a stat where in the 2-3-2 format, teams that have won, or teams that have gone up 2-1, won 12 out of 13 finals. And the one team that lost was the Spurs. Or, wow, I just totally botched that. It was the Heat against the Mavericks, and now it's the Spurs. So it's happened twice, and it's involved LeBron James both times. And, you know, he had 8 points, I think, in maybe game 4 or 5. I can't remember exactly, but I do remember a lot of passing and a lot of indecisiveness. And, you know, that was perfect for all the haters, for all the people who think that he shouldn't even be mentioned in the same breath as Jordan, or you could never compare him even to Kobe. That's just wrong. Now That's just ignorance. All of those people need to shut up, but they won't. Okay, and that's what really makes this just incredibly frustrating, but also amazing at the same time. He just won his second Finals MVP and fourth MVP this year. He dominated it seems like every game he plays in the playoffs is the biggest game of his life. So I'm just going to say the two biggest games of his career right now, he did work. And he got bailed out once by Ray Allen, but he still flat out was amazing. And the fact that he still has all of these haters, it's crazy. And another thing I noticed comparing it to narrative in movies is in good stories, all of the events that happen in the beginning will influence the protagonist's decisions in the end. I know a lot of you guys watch Naruto, and some of the arcs in that show will take about 6 to 10 episodes, and they will hammer you with flashbacks from 5 episodes ago. But they do it so well that all of the decisions with just Naruto talking to Haku in the forest, all of that shit matters when watching it for the first time, not knowing what's going to happen. You're thinking, okay, can we just get on and see the fight? But all of that shit matters. Where in LeBron's case, it honestly does not matter what he does in the first 3 quarters. All that people remember is what happens in the fourth and when the buzzer sounds. In Game 6, actually no, in Game 7, if Duncan makes that hook shot and they tie the game, and LeBron comes down and still hits that shot, and they go up by 2 with 27 seconds left, and then if the Spurs do what the Heat did to them in Game 6 and take a shot, get a lucky bounce, and hit a 3 and win the game, what is the story? Please try to tell me that people won't be saying that LeBron choked, even though he would have had 35 and would have had one of the best games of his life and just flat out lost because the Spurs made the last play, Or what if Game 6 turned out to be a loss and, he had one of the best fourth quarters he's ever had, but he had crucial turnovers in the last minute that caused the L. Like, I understand that those are huge plays, but he single-handedly led them back in that game, entering the fourth quarter down by 10 with D. Wade and Chris Bosh on the bench. He scored or assisted on, I'm pretty sure, like every single basket. The ball went through his hands and it mattered, And even on the defensive end, too. The things he does on defense is insane. He single-handedly had to shut down Tony Parker in these last 2 games and score 37 and get 12 rebounds. I mean, the amount of stuff that people were asking out of this man is insane. And, he came to Miami to get help. In Game 7 of Year 3, 4 people combined for 92 points. Nobody would have seen that coming. If you're telling me just a week ago that in Game 7, Chris Bosh, Mike Miller, and Ray Allen are going to combine for 0-14, I'd tell you you're crazy. But this Miami Heat team produces craziness, and all that matters in today's, ADD society is the last part, and that last segment of whatever you're doing has to result in a win. It's like any sport. There's plenty of games. I can't think of any now because it's 7:46 in the morning and I'm really tired, but there's plenty of games, I'm sure, in the playoffs this year of the NFL and in basketball in these playoffs where a player had an insane first 3 quarters and didn't have their best fourth quarter. And, that actually kind of contradicts my point, because Tony Parker, I'm pretty sure, has done this. And so has Dwayne Wade. Didn't Dwayne Wade have like 14 or 15 in halftime like 4 times and then finish the game with less than 20? But because he's not LeBron, it didn't get, all of the attention that it might have deserved. Duncan had 25 in the first half of Game 6. That was one of the best performances he's ever had in his life. And he had 5 the rest of the game and did not score in overtime or fourth quarter. I'm pretty sure he did not score. But would people remember that? Who knows? Probably not. They'll remember he just had a legendary 30-point game and his team couldn't get it done. Will they remember that he didn't do shit in the fourth quarter? Probably not, because he's not LeBron James. So I don't even know what I'm saying right now. I try to make a point about the beginning mattering more than it I tried to make a point about how the protagonist has the beginning matters, where now it seems like it's all results, It is 100% results, and I'm just too tired right now. I'm sure I could have written this down better, but it is what it is. On to other news. I've read 2 of the dumbest things I've ever read in my life today. First thing being a Wings of Redemption tweet. This guy, Wings of Redemption is the Skip Bayless of the video game community. He will say anything to get attention, and I don't know if he believes all of it. He's replying to Philip Newman on Twitter, and he says, "I can tell you're a little kid when you see me saying 40 hours of work equals $18 and you wish you had it." So he's you can just take that, okay? And then Philip Newman says, "Since when is playing a game and recording it, quote unquote, work?" Okay, now I completely agree. Since when has that become work? I mean, please. Okay, and then Wings lays a bomb with, "Since when is shooting a movie work? I'm sure Stephen Spielberg, spelled Steven Spielberg wrong, never worked a day in his life." I'm going to repeat that. Quote, "Since when is shooting a movie work? I'm sure Steven Spielberg never worked a day in his life." End quote. That's the dumbest thing anyone's ever typed in their life. It has to be, right? I mean, what? It's hard for me to insult that because it's just so dumb. And this is a guy who's made dozens of videos counting down his favorite movies. So I don't know if he actually believes this. I don't know if he said this because he's just Wings of Redemption. I mean, but that's really, really stupid. And I don't even want to go into that because that's just, I mean, if you can't see that that's stupid, then how the fuck did you find my channel? Okay. And then my boy Stuart Hilton laid a bomb on me too. He's a natural born hater. It's been established after these finals. He says 2013 caring about the NBA. After I Skyped him, there is no dispute about, what happened right now. And then he says, "Of what? Game 6 chokeage?" And I say, "Why would I be thinking of Game 6 after what happened right now?" He says, "Spurs should have won Game 6, therefore Game 7 doesn't exist." Like, 2013 caring about the NBA. So that's the second dumbest thing I've ever read, at least for this week. It would be the dumbest thing I've ever read. I mean, that's insanity. So, let's see, where can I go with this? So yeah, I'm just gonna reinforce, this whole comparing it to an action-adventure film, this Miami Heat team, it was just such a roller coaster of high emotion and just downright disgust. And it's like every team they played was a total matchup issue, and in the playoffs that is, and they just came through. I mean, are people gonna remember Bosch's 20 and 19 against the Bulls in Game 5? No. No. He had 20 and 19 against Noah. He can play, but Roy Hibbert and Tim Duncan is just a matchup nightmare for him. I mean, this is a guy who has slain the Wizards before. Absolutely destroyed. He's had 40-point games. He can shoot the lights out when he's hot, but he just needs to develop a paint game for this team. And it's amazing how everything just switches so easily. Like, they played 13 games in a row, alternating wins. And after every single win, analysts said, they can't lose if they do this, blah, 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 blah. And after every single loss, oh, what is LeBron doing wrong, blah, 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 blah. And they would bounce back after every single loss with heroic effort. And then, oh, they can't lose, blah, 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 blah. It's like, it was just so insane how literally it was up and down. And how it was, I think Wilbon is always talking about how sports talk radio, whatever happened 2 days ago doesn't matter. And it's just, whatever happened in the last, 12 seconds is the only thing that matters. And that's what it seems like this playoffs has been, wherein a movie, you build your characters. But people, here's my point. Yeah, I can make a pretty good point right here. Movies, the characters get built, they develop, they change for the better over time. Villains get a little bit worse, or maybe you'll feel sympathetic towards them, like Zod. But people in reality, in the social media age, they all have the attention span of a gnat. So, any YouTube video that's longer than 12 seconds that, isn't called. So, any YouTube video that's longer than 4 minutes isn't going to get as many views as a video that's 3 minutes. Any montage that's going to be longer than 5 minutes probably isn't going to get as much attention as any video montage with just one song, or an episode, or a mini edit. And things just need to be shorter and shorter and take less time to happen. Well, I guess I can reference that 2013 February PS4 conference, and they were talking about the specifics of the PS4, and they just kept harping on how little time it'll take for you to go between the PS4 and your handheld, which can play whatever you're playing on the PS4. It's instant. Things can't take time now. Loading screens are going to be a thing of the past. I mean, they probably already should be, not because our attention span, but because of technology. But everything needs to be super fast now. And LeBron needs to win another ring. He needs to win another ring right now. People can't just accept that he's great right now. He needs to go out and win another one. And then he needs to go out and win another one. He needs to get to 6. What it all comes down to is that I hate people. Well, just like every other commentary I do, ideas get stuck in my head, and they pop back up once I'm done. So, a few things I left out. I've said this shit in my head already for hours. Not all of it, but I'm not sure. I'm sorry if I'm redundant. I'm pretty damn sure I didn't say this, but it just seems like as a population, people can gravitate towards hating on the really good players or things that that they see, and they don't want to accept the fact that it's good. And what I really think it is that they know that no matter what happens on their TV or on the basketball floor or whatever venue it is, they know that when they wake up the next morning, they will be their sorry ass, and whoever they were criticizing, hating on, will be better than them, no matter what. And players like LeBron and D Wade, and some other infamous players in the NBA, including Jordan. I'm sure he had a few haters in Salt Lake. Then even people like Tom Brady and even Roethlisberger to an extent. Already RG3, even Romo, even though he hasn't done anything, people are still jealous that they don't have a tenth of the goodness, a tenth of a life that these people have. And I've always been a fan of the underdog, but I've always been a fan of the pure dominant athlete that just wins based on hard work and just raw talent. And I've never been a fan of people like Tim Duncan, where his game is just ugly. I'm not sure if it's on YouTube, but that post move he threw on Bosch, when Bosch got his 5th foul, that's the worst post move in the history of basketball. And people are a fan of that guy. It just doesn't look good. That might contradict what I just said, but if you do it well and you look good doing it, there's a good chance I'm a fan. But if you do it a lot and you're ugly, I don't like you. And Roethlisberger kind of falls in that boat for me. He's not the prettiest guy, but he can play. But goddamn, Tim Duncan, I don't like Tim Duncan at all. That's the ugliest fucking man in the universe. He's got like a 2 head, when his eyes are like always wide open and his ears are standing up, and he jumps like 4 inches off the ground. And that was the worst post move ever. Also, if you look at him wrong, the call foul on you. And that also relates to Man of Steel. People and the critics don't want to accept that animation can have that much of a good impact on storytelling, and they think that Zack Snyder's style is too overdone, and it's not realistic enough, or it's not, I don't know if it's not realistic enough, but it's not like bright enough, because the movie was pretty dark. It wasn't lighthearted. Neither was 300. But I mean, I admire his style so much. The action and the visuals. I mean, the action is like bar none the best, and the visuals easily rival anything in Lord of the Rings or The Hobbit. And it's outstanding. And I think that people just will find a way to reject work that is good. And this sounds so contradictory, because Tim Duncan is outstanding on so many levels, but he just doesn't look good doing it. I mean, nobody will say Man of Steel doesn't look good, but people will be jealous of it. And I'll definitely want to see Sucker Punch. Watchmen is definitely one of my favorite movies that had a good ending. I love the ending of that. And Vite is one of my favorite villainish characters, I guess you could say. But I hate people so much. And Twitter, I took it out of my fucking favorites on Toolbar for Google Chrome, And I still check it so much. And I unfollowed so many people. I'm only following like 41 people. But I still find it. I still manage to read it. And I still manage to consume the retarded information. Why? Why?